Fort Worth versus Dallas, what's actually different between them, and how you can figure out which one is actually the right fit for you and not which one you actually think you're supposed to pick. So a client of mine flew in for a job interview here, spent 3 days touring neighborhoods, and afterwards she told me that she really loved Fort Worth. Dallas felt like a little too much. And she's not the only one who said a version of that to me. It might honestly be one of the single most common things that I hear from relocating buyers, especially if they're open to Fort Worth. So today I'm actually going to settle it once and for all. Hi, I'm Dee Walton, your local Dallas relocation expert, and I help people buy, sell, and relocate to the DFW area. And so I want to make sure I talk about the differences between Dallas Fort Worth because they often kind of get confused as one big area, but these are actually two separate, fully independent cities and in some ways fully independent metros, roughly 30 minutes apart, connected mainly by Highway I-30, and together they anchor the entire Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. People who've never been here assume Fort Worth is just a suburb of Dallas. It's not. It actually has its own downtown, its own economy, and its own culture. I'm going to break down the differences between the two cities across 4 things: the vibe, the cost, the commute, and who actually fits where. By the end of this, you'll know which side you were actually thinking you'll lean more towards. So the first part, let's talk about the vibe, because this is usually where people feel before they can explain it. Dallas is full of glass, skyscrapers, uptown high-rises, massive restaurants and nightlife scene, and it actually kind of moves a little bit faster and has a little bit more corporate energy. Think the Arts District, Deep Ellum for live music, Knox Henderson for shopping, and the Bishop Arts District that's a little bit more walkable and has an artsy feel to it. It's a city that wants you to see it and be seen. And in Fort Worth, it's kind of completely different personality. A little bit more Western heritage. You have places like the Sundance Square with its lit up nighttime skyline. You also have the historic stockyards, which actual longhorn cattle drives through twice a day. And it actually is a little bit more slower, more community driven feel, and it has become one of the fastest growing cities in the entire country. Culturally, Dallas leans into being a big, ambitious American city, and Fort Worth actually leans being a little bit more Texas, and it does it without feeling like a theme park. Neither one is better. They're genuinely different products, and you need to know which one you actually feel like you can live best inside of. So let's talk about the cost for a minute, because this is where the numbers actually separate the two. Generally speaking, Fort Worth runs somewhat less expensive than Dallas, particularly on housing. Fort Worth's overall cost of living tends to sit close to or slightly above the national average. So right now, the average price point of a home in the city of Fort Worth proper is on average around $391,000, and the average price point of a home in Dallas proper is around $678,000. So a pretty significant difference between the two cities. Dallas includes areas like Highland Park, University Park, and areas around Preston Hollow, as well as the northern suburbs like South Lake, and they carry a real luxury premium you pay for as with the address as much as the square footage. Fort Worth gives you a little bit more home for the same budget in the most apples to apples comparisons, though it's close in, it's very fast growing neighborhoods near like the South Side. Arlington Heights are catching up quickly as people discover them. Neither city is cheap anymore. This is Texas in 2026, not Texas in 2006, but the gap between them is real, and it's worth running actual numbers on your specific budget instead of assuming either one is in or out of reach. If you're here, you are thinking about moving to the Dallas-Fort Worth area in general, and that is what I help clients with every single day. So if you're wanting to talk, we can get together on a free 30-minute phone call just to talk about your strategy, your timeline, your budget, and what you're looking for in your Dallas-Fort Worth area. You can scan the QR code that's on the screen or click the link that's in the description box, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. So the next thing I want to talk about is the commute trap. And here's the mistake I watch a lot of relocating buyers make constantly, and it costs them the most in the long run. They fall in love with a house in one of the cities while their job sits in a completely opposite side of the metropolitan area. Dallas and Fort Worth are on the opposite ends of DFW. If your job is downtown Fort Worth, Worth near the medical district or near the south side, then Fort Worth and the western suburbs like Aledo or Weatherford makes sense. If you are commuting into downtown Dallas, uptown Plano or Legacy West corporate corridor, where a lot of major companies have their campuses, you may want to be looking east towards Dallas proper or the northern suburbs. You get this wrong and you're looking at an hour plus commute every single day and a metroplex that's genuinely enormous. And I've got an entire video just on how big this place actually is and what that means for you. So go watch that one if you're interested. The airport matters here too. DFW International sits almost exactly between the two cities. So if you fly often for work, that's actually a point in favor of either side. So who fits where? Choose Dallas if you want walkability in specific pockets, a bigger, more varied food and nightlife scene, a faster pace of life, and you're comfortable paying a premium for that energy. Choose Fort Worth if you want more home for your money, a little bit more slower, more community-oriented lifestyle, and a strong sense of like the Western heritage and identity, and you generally don't mind driving to get to most places. Families often gravitate towards Fort Worth, newer suburb developments for the value and the school options. Young professionals and empty nesters who want walkable urban living often gravitate more towards Dallas. But I want to be clear that this isn't a rule about age or life stage. It's about what your actual day-to-day life needs are and what you want them to feel like. I have had retired couples fall in love with uptown Dallas and young families thrive in the quiet Fort Worth suburb. So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just an honest one and the one that makes the most sense for you. So I had a couple relocate to Dallas from Denver a while back who picked a home in Dallas because they really loved the energy of their house during the house hunting trip. They really loved the restaurants that were near, the skyline, everything. 6 months later, they called me because the husband's new job has shifted his office to Fort Worth Medical District. And suddenly they are actually commuting 50 minutes each way every day. And that is an absolute headache. Let me tell you, the Dallas traffic is no joke. They love their house. They hated their life. We ended up helping them sell and relocate again, but this time to a Fort Worth suburb close to his office. And they told me afterward that they wish that they had asked the question first, not which city do you love more? What does our actual day-to-day life happen? Now, in their case, the job was new, so it was kind of hard to make that decision at the time that they were moving initially, but ultimately they were able to make the change. So that's actually some of the questions that I want you to ask yourself before you fall in love with either skyline. Which city is going to make the most sense for me based on my family, based on my church, based on my job, based on all the things that are important to your life, and you want to make sure you have easy access to. If you're torn between these two and you are not sure which one actually fits your job, your budget, and the way you want to live, that is a 15-minute conversation, not something that you should have to guess on your own. I will make sure to connect with you so we're asking the right questions to point you in the right direction. You can actually book a call with me using the link below, and before your next trip, we'll figure out exactly which side of I-30 you belong on.